It's today in EVE Online, Wednesday, January 29th, 2020. I am Matterall, here with my friend Lichgrave. How's it going, Lichgrave?
Hey.
Let's talk about EVE Online, what's happened today, and what may happen tomorrow. We'll start with the online status of Tranquility, the only server at this point for EVE Online. And that's not because all the other servers have closed and everything merged into one. EVE Online has always been just one universe, one server. Except don't pay attention to China over here. They have a separate server for political reasons. But anyway, the server Tranquility has been having some hiccups. And they've been having some instability due to... Oh, nuts. I'll be right back. I have to take a phone call. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll handle it from here. Yeah, DDoS. There have been a whole bunch of attacks happening recently, and unfortunately, Tranquility got caught in those. It's not just Tranquility though. It's not just EVE Online. It's been other games. So this is something that's multifaceted that's been going across all over the. Instability is a thing that I've experienced in a couple of games too. So, but certain parts of the world don't seem to be affected. The West Coast here in the United States is fine. East Coast doesn't seem troubled. Seems to be a lot of attacks in Europe. So, just be careful, guys. But yeah, lots of delays, lots of drops that have been happening in EVE pretty consistently. There have been lots of dead ships because of it. There have been lots of fleets destroyed, lots of jump freighters destroyed, lots of anything. I haven't checked the abyssal numbers, but I assume those are up too. So it's been crazy. Current ongoing status is they're looking into it. We still don't have a solution. This has been happening for, I'm gonna say, the better part of about 4 or 5 days now. So, yeah. Bit crazy.
All right. Should we start over, or did you manage to get some information out?
And yeah. Welcome back.
Oh,
yeah, no, I managed to explain a little bit.
Okay. So DDoSs have been attacking, and if you file a support ticket, that's why we have this up, CCP will probably do some reimbursing. So file it under gameplay, support, reimbursements under lost ships. And why lost ships? I think it has to do with...
Disconnects.
Yeah, let me see if I can grab that.
I mentioned people have been losing ships, have been losing jump freighters, have been losing abyssal ships.
Yeah, like this guy here, he's...
There you go.
He's in the middle of a mission, and it's disconnect, connection lost. So that guy probably lost some things. He's complaining about it in TIS Discord. And then a few minutes later, there was a post about reimbursement policy. So that's probably what happened there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunate.
Go ahead.
No, I just had mentioned that, I mean, being here in the United States, we haven't really felt that much of it. And it does look like a lot of the attacks are specifically happening in Europe. So for all the Euro friends, stay safe.
That's interesting. Okay. Let's go through our usual look at most violent systems and the timer board and some, whatever is going on in corporations. Let me just close this up here. Okay. So just looking at the most violent systems, that is systems, not regions, it looks like a casual day. You have the Forge and Lone Trek and the Citadel. Those are 3 regions, all in Caldari space, which is basically the city in EVE Online. Jita would be the one system that was Sorry, it says most violent regions. Why did I say systems? That was odd. Okay, so this is most violent regions. And you have the Forge with about 3,000 ship kills in one 24-hour cycle. Actually, that's the last 3 hours, is it? I think that's
24 hours.
It has to be 24 hours. That's a lot of
Yeah.
kills.
It says 24 hours.
Oh, it says it right there. Wow. Need to sharpen my tool set.
More tea.
Yes. All right, most violent regions. Regions in the last 24 hours. The Forge leads with 2,900, followed by Lone Trek and Citadel with about 1,800 and then 1,300 respectively. Those regions are all neighboring each other inside of Caldari space, and that is traditionally the most violent area because those are in and around the major trade hub in EVE Online. So people are getting nabbed on their way to the market, on their way away from the market. Normally that's where pirates will hang out and lurk. Inside of Nullsec region, that's outlaw space, Tenal still tops at 500 kills in the last 24 hours, and then Kalevala, Expanse, I'm going to call that the Expanse, right? And Catch, those are in different regions, although Tenal and Kalevala are actually in different sections, different regions of the game. Region's a bad word, but different areas of the game, but they are nearly connected through long-range jump bridges. So those kind of make sense together. Catch, on the other hand, is in the south, and that's where Brave is. So Brave's probably seeing some action there. And then number 4 is Venal. Venal goes with Tenal. They're right next to each other. So all that is, and then Tribute is next, and all those are related. So 1 through 5, the top 5 most violent regions, 4 out of the 5 are in the northern areas. And that's for 2 reasons. One is there's a war going on up there between Pandafam and Dead Coalition. And then there is also the Tribute area, which is kind of an area that now has a lot of smaller alliances that are duking it out very consistently in small numbers. And those regions where the war is happening, where these small groups are fighting each other, those are right next to each other. So there could be some bleed over here and there. So that's what's going on there. The one standout is Kalevala Expanse with 560 ship kills in the last 24 hours. And let's actually look at where Kalevala is so you can get an idea.
Yeah, it's on the eastern. It's in the eastern blocks, next to Malpass and Ethereum Reach. It's the jump between Geminate and Veil of the Silent into the eastern blocks.
And that's what I meant by they're actually connected. Let me zoom back. I'll zoom all the way out and then zoom in so you can get a lay of the land. So that's the whole map. And you can see there's basically like 5 regions of EVE Online. There's the Empire Space, which is a really dense middle. And that's where you get the major trade hub that everybody kills merchants in. That's why that's always going to rate high. But then you have Outlaw Space, which is the big donut around the Empire Space. And that's the big donut is Outlaw Space. And in there you have basically like 4 regions. You have the north, you have the south, you have the west, and you have the east. And in the east, you basically have what's called drone regions. And drone regions are a small cluster. I don't know why I did that. A small cluster of, or I should say, many regions all piled up on top of each other. These were added to the game after the game had started. That was actually put in, I believe, within the first 5 years of EVE Online. They said, we're going to create more space. And that was what the drone regions were made from. And funny enough, those were all made, the names of a lot of those systems are actually based on alliance names or corporation names of players. Like Ethereum Reach, for instance, is named after Ethereal Dawn because they had a contest and that's what they opted to do. They've done that before. CCP also named the Entosis wands, which are used to take over sovereignty. They named those wands after 4 different alliances that competed in a competition to test the wand in the test center, I believe. And whoever won the most amount of sovereignty with those wands got one of the types of wands. I think there's 4 types. named after their group. It's not a direct naming convention, so you won't have the Pandemic Legion and Tosis wand, but you'll have some variation on it too. Just like this system, Ethereum Reach, wasn't really called Ethereal Dawn right after the Alliance, it was just some variation on it. So that's what's going on there. Now, the reason I'm giving you this history is because that was added territory, it's all kind of piled up on each other, which makes it very dense, but also not very harvestable for a long time. So it was really something that was far away, self-contained, and not very good for wealth building, and certainly not very good for PvPing. So what you have historically in the drone regions is people who went there to be left alone. And for a long time that was Russians, because Russians would go there, it was their territory, they colonized it, and they considered it home, and they would farm it out to people. And if you go, and they farmed it out to, they rented it out to other people so that people could make ISK, because they figured out how to make ISK out of it. And I won't go too deep into that. But they figured out that you could basically make a lot of money over a longer period of time if you kept at it. And that's not how Westerners wanted to play the game. They wanted to make a lot of money quick, and they wanted to fight a lot. Whereas the people who were in drones wanted to be left alone to progressively make more and more and more money over a long period of time. Enter in the idea that you could automate your money making in the form of bots, and that's why Drone Regions has this reputation for having a lot of bots, a lot of Russian botting. That's all, whether it's true or not, I'm not exactly sure, but that's what the reputation was for a long time. And now things have changed quite a bit. Different factors are in there. Right now, NCPL have dominated the area and are setting up, well, now fraternities in that area as well. And there's a lot of harvesting going on right now, mostly from fraternity. Okay, all that to say that this is connected to, you can see here in the red dots, that's Kalevala Expanse. And that reaches right into the north. There's actually, if I look at the map, there's actually two norths. There's like a shallow north, which is sitting right above Empire Space. In fact, it's sitting right above the Forge. And Lone Trek and Citadel. So remember, those three really busy regions are just right below Tribute and Veil and even Venal. And of course, Delcline and Pureblind. But this area here, and so that's what's connected to Drone Regions, is Veil of the Silent, Geminate, Tribute. Those are really close jump-wise, not actually light years wise, but if you're using jump gates, you can get to it relatively quickly. And then that all leads to, from Tribute, Veil, and Venal, that leads to the north, like the North Pole, and that is Branch and Tenal. So Branch and Tenal are like the North Pole in EVE Online. They're hard to get to. They're very far away from civilization or the market regions, the empire regions. And they, again, are used for kind of just harvesting and money making and being left alone. The problem is that drones regions from Cobalt Edge and Kalevala can actually jump all the way into these regions. And if actually we look at Venal, see if I can zoom in on Venal. This system here, I think can I click it or not? Nope, you have to click the name. If you look at the Paragon Falls, that's actually drone region. So HDI, Tribute, Branch, Tagline, Branch. Oh, I'm into Venal, so let me go to Tenal. Cobalt Edge, Branch. Okay, so here's Cobalt Edge's entry point, right? This is what I want to point out, and this is why certain systems are more important than other systems. There are certain systems in EVE Online that you, if you're in control of, that is telling you something about what's going on in the area. This whole place can belong to anyone. It doesn't matter, but this system matters a lot, and that's SF-TAC, because that system is the one that connects to drone regions. So if NC owns this system, which they do, that means they have a foothold all the way from drone regions into the North Pole systems of EVE Online. So by holding that one system, they are essentially they've got a what do they call that? Shore. I'm thinking of something. Well, they've basically got their foot on your beach, and now they can stage from there and do their campaign into your territory. So that's a very significant system. This has also been used in reverse when the North, Sword Dragon was invading drone regions. They tried to do the reverse of this and tried to attack. Let me go back to that major map. Try to attack drone regions by getting a keep star into that first staging system into drone regions, and there was a huge fight over that. And they actually, I believe, they lost the keep star. So drone regions actually repelled Dead Coalition. They were known as GOTG back then. At one time, it was a huge fight, and it was an important fight. And the reason it was important was for that reason. They did not allow them to have a beachhead. That's the word I was looking for. They did not allow Sword Dragon to have a beachhead into drone regions to then have a campaign where he could harass the whole region. And that was why turning that battle back was such a big deal. Okay. All this to say, these regions seem far apart, but because of these long jump gates, they're not. And so again, owning LS or owning 9P4, these are important systems to get you. That's all Geminate. Look at this one. This one goes all the way over here. HD TAC. That's, yeah, here it is. So Paragon Falls comes into Caristas. Anyway, those are the systems. The fighting's happening up north. The south is actually quiet. We'll see that change probably soon as people try to disrupt each other's economies, as has been said is going to happen. Hey, Cable, how you doing? All right, we'll let him lurk. One thing I haven't done yet, and
I'm here, sorry.
hey, dude, how's it going?
Pretty chill. Still dealing with the problems you created for me.
I knew I was getting you into trouble too, but I should have resisted. I couldn't. By having you talk about your situation, I guess that caused you problems.
Very much did.
But I thought you were like done with them, so why does it matter if they're mad at you?
Because I would argue that you're never done with someone in that sense. It's not like I dislike the people there. I disagree with something they did and so on, but that doesn't make me dislike people individually.
Mm.
And apparently that chat made a lot of them apparently very much dislike me because they feel like I was just throwing shade at them.
Well, we can have them on and they can tell their side of the story if they want to, but whatever. It's nice to know that they're watching the show. It's nice for me to know they're watching the show.
I would argue it was more that people were getting it linked specifically that little section. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Got it. Okay. We won't get you in any more trouble. Let's look at, we looked at violence in regions. So again, the North is seeing a lot of conflict, whether it's the war or just the people in tribute that are fighting each other. Again, the market areas are always seeing a little bit of combat. It's usually not combat. It's more like ganking or war decking. Okay, so most violent systems. Wicked Creek looks like there was a battle there in SOTAC. And
It wasn't a real battle though.
Oh, it wasn't? What was it?
Group running a Sotio that we intended to shit on, and then a third party came in and ruined it for everyone.
Did they destroy the loot, or what happened there?
No. It didn't even finish the Sotio. It was like a complete clusterfuck. Like it was complete carnage, and everyone just lost, kind of. It was so dumb.
I love that.
Like everyone just kind of died. It was pretty brilliant. I have some great footage of it.
That's like two people trying to get through a door at the same time, stuck, and then a third person comes and just bowls everybody over.
Yeah, and then somehow they all get hurt.
Yeah, nobody got through the door.
Pretty much.
So it looks like it's a little bit of action in Curse, and not much to speak of after that. If we look over at that's in the last 3 hours, so that you're telling me something that just happened.
No, it happened like 3 hours ago. Something like that.
Yeah, it's just barely on there, so maybe it's a bit bigger. Okay, the systems in the last 24 hours. Rio, that's the home of Beans, right? That's Pandemic Horde, looks like 281. That's their home system. I imagine it's just a gang coming through, a small skirmish, nothing to be worried about. Yeah, here's the Wicked Creek incident that you just talked about. And then some residue combat in ZH3 TAC, which is Tenal. That is the war in the north going on there, where NC took out an iHub for Ranger Regiment. That is the system that was Ranger Regiment's staging system. And that is just some cleanup work, it looks like. In Venal, you have a little more combat. N5Y TAC had about 162 ships get destroyed. And that was probably a battle that happened, well, it was in the last 24 hours, but probably something like downtime. Who knows? Venal and Tenal are basically connected, so that's all the same kind of conflict. The Northern War. And then you have some residue contact with ZJ TAC QOO. That's in that same area. Some interesting stuff down here. Head GP, that's always a busy system because Head GP is a nullsec system that drops right off of HighSec. It's very rare. There's only 2 areas that do that. Head GP is one of them. It's always been a place that's highly camped and highly volatile. It was volatile for different reasons in the past, but now its volatility is its geography, that it is a HighSec to nullsec drop. It's like a cliff. And the only other one like that is between Placid and Syndicate.
There's also Detal.
Where?
Detal. It's in the southeast.
I don't think I'm familiar with that. I know Detal the system, but I didn't know it was a HighSec too. Let me check that out.
To nullsec, yeah. Lone Wolf works out of there. If anybody's ever watched his.
How do you spell Detal? DTOL or something?
DI.
Oh yeah, DI.
CAL. DTAL.
Oh, gotcha. Devoid. No way. I used to live in Devoid. How can I not know that? Let's have a look. Oh, into Providence. Yeah. Yeah, but Providence to me doesn't feel like nullsec. Sorry. It feels
a little. Have to. It's 0-0.
It is 0-0, but I never think of Providence as 0-0 because it's a pacified kind of area.
CVA, right?
Yeah, and they don't gate camp people coming in. So I always feel like Providence is low sec plus instead of null sec, even though it's not.
It's still. We were talking about systems that jump from high to null.
You're technically correct. Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't even think about that. There may even be a fourth system. I don't know. All right. Anything else going out? Anything else going on out there as far as combat that you guys know about in war? I'm going to look at most violent systems now. Well, we just did systems. Most violent systems for low sec. Well, you have Black Rise here in Nenamela. That is Black Rise is a very, very active low sec system. It's where a lot of combat happens. And Black Rise is connected to Citadel, so you have that whole Tama, Onata, or Onato, and Nenamela. Those are all systems that are near each other, so that doesn't seem out of the ordinary. And all these battles are kind of small, and they all look like faction war areas. So you have Lone Trek you have Black Rise, Citadel, and Lone Trek are all kind of connected. And so those low sec pipes are, as people travel through these, I call them pipes, but what they are is pathways through low sec. You're going to see combat in those areas from people looking around for low sec combat. That's just kind of like small gang stuff, usually, maybe some solo stuff. And another part of, and there's various different parts of LowSec that people travel to look for fights. There's some that are hotter than others. For instance, this one, Old Man Star is an essence, and that is kind of by itself out there. I don't see anything else connected to it. This Creole system is Sync Liaison, which is actually, where is that? I know this system. There it is. Yeah, so this is the Rancer area, and it's just it's more of a pirate hangout because it's between two trade hubs. So that's not faction war or anything like that. But Old Man Star is faction war, and that's why. But it's only 12 things killed in the last 3 hours, so there's some activity there. Moving over to the 24 hours. Tama and again Nena Mela. Those are connected, and there's lots of fighting goes on in Tama. It's one of the hottest low-sec areas there is. Kadama is also Black Rise, and so you can see half of low-sec activities is Black Rise. That's just where it's at. And Kanaka as well. So other areas that are kind of active besides Black Rise, looks like, yeah, the Bleaklands, that is faction warfare area, and some Metropolis and Asset. Huh, Asset. Check out Asset. Yeah, this is, yeah, it's faction war, but Asset I thought was a different system. All right. So it looks like a typical day in low-sec. And then we go to high-sec, and of course you see the trade routes all camped in. So the last 3 hours, 120 ships been killed in Jeddah. Let's just go to the last 24 hours. I don't see anything big on the 3-hour mark. Last 24 hours, you have the Forge and Jeddah. Coaster is a beginning player area. So you're going to see a lot of destruction there, but it's just not significant destruction. Those are new players finding their feet. And Narja down here in Domain, even though that's Domain, that is a part of the highway between Jeddah and Amar, two major trade hubs. And so a lot of people will die in that system as well for the same reasons they would die in Jeddah or the surrounding area. And I don't see anything significant here. Looks like there's a few fights here and there, but these are all like high sec, but they're kind of adjacent to low sec or market areas. So no major surprises. I guess that's where all the activity is. If you wanted to see what the veins of EVE Online are, you can do that through this .lan EVE maps. If we go to, let's go to the universe, and that shows you all the regions combined. And I want to find like the arteries of EVE Online so that I might maybe stage a base near one of those arteries. Or you can call them roads, right? All these Appian roads that go to Rome. You click on any of these, so we'll pick something like Essence, right? And you want to change the adjustment from sovereignty, which is its default, over to jumps in the last 24 hours. And what you can start to see is the disparity in activity as people jump more from a certain system. You will see it turn yellow and then red. And so if you do that, then you can start to map where the through roads are, where the roads are that people use to get to the market or to get going. It's usually to the market. There's no other reason to be moving through places except to explore and stuff, or localities. But these are like the highways, right? So if I follow this one, it starts here in, it starts here in Sinchel, and that goes to Citadel, and you know that's going to go through Citadel all the way over to the Forge. But if I follow it this way, it's going to go to Algail, it's hard to read, Rain, and then Rain, it drops off to any number of places. It could go to Gurnikana there, or Duans, or Pakshi. So any of these three are the next gate. I know which one it is, and it's going to be Grunican here. And that brings me to Sink Zone. So you can see now the path a lot clearer. So you can see it goes from Bell to Ofe to Del Tol, and it splits. I think this one goes to Khalil there, and then it goes into the Metropolis, and that goes into a different trade hub called Heck. So that's what that path is. But over here you can see that Douans also runs to Ermi, to Butane, and then Butane right to Dodixie. So you can start to see the arteries of like EVE Online and where people travel. Let's go back and let's see if we can find a really clear example. Yeah, you see it here at the bottom. So from Dodixie and basically Galente space, you can see that it goes right through here at the bottom. That's Kazagenin, Hatakani, Seville, Udema. It's very that one's bright red because that's where a lot of people get killed. It's a choke point for many different paths. And then it continues on through the south here and into Jita or Amar. So you have Amar and Jita coming through this section and going to Dodixie. This is where all three of those trade hub routes, and those are the three biggest, they all meet here, and they all choke point in that one system, Udema. And that's why Udema is always a place where people will get destroyed. I actually lived in Udema because I thought, I was looking on the map and I thought, well, that's a good system. Every trade route goes right through this one system. I should live there. So I set up shop and started mining, and I was dead like 15 minutes later. And then I thought, I'm always going to get killed here because even if I'm a local, if I go one direction, it's camped. If I go another direction, it's camped. So this is probably not the best place to be, although it was kind of fun. Okay, so that looks like the end of the combat for the day. It's not atypical. I was going to go through and compare a typical day of combat to what we're seeing today, so you could see. I'll just show you how to do that. You could do it on your own. But if I hit statistics here, and if what I'm defaulted to under historical stats is recent stats, so it's going to give me the last 24 hours. But if I decided I wanted to see a summary of 2020, which only gives me a month, I could do that. Or I could do 2019 summary. And if I click on that, there it goes. So it will give you a summary of what 2019 looked like and where the most active systems were. So you get an idea. You're going to see a lot of what we just reported because the violence tends to happen in the same areas over and over and over again. So again, the regions that are most devastating for ship kills are the Forge and the Citadel and Lone Trek. And again, those are those three trade regions, and nothing really compares to that. Then you get to Black Rise, which we told you was the most violent, like both Faction War and Low Sex System. And you get to Domain, but a lot of Domain's kills are actually based on the trade hub routes that connect from the Forge. So I would consider that as part of the top four. And again, Sink Son, I think that's pretty much the same thing. So the point is that the Empire space is, I think, is that just HiSec or is it? Yeah, that might just be Empire space, but those trade hub routes are super dangerous. NPC kills, that's players basically destroying NPC ships for money. Delve is way on top. There's nothing really that compares to that. At 250 million kills. And you have Lone Trek and Branch. Branch is surprising. That is surprising that Branch is that high. 175, basically 176. Interesting. All right, so you could check these stats for yourself, compare them to what's going on locally, and you can compare to what's going on today. Okay, good news here. Old Man Star is generally Wang's gate camp, and that makes sense because there wasn't that many kills, but it was surprising to see there because if you go to Old Man Star, you'll realize there's not much going on in Old Man Star. In fact, let's go there and look. Old Man Star is one of those systems that has a story behind it. You could find that in Eve Chronicles. Look up Old Man Star. You see Old Man Star here. If I put this not in jumps, but in, well, let's look at it jumps. This is an entryway for Valor. This is all Galente space, and you actually kind of, this is Galente Faction War Losec here. So somebody from Valor would want to go into Old Man Star in order to get into Faction War space. So that's probably why it's camped, and that's kind of why somebody would camp that, and that's why there's not much going on there except for Faction War and going into it. That doesn't seem very, like 1,300 jumps in 24 hours is not that many. Okay, I'm boring myself. I hope somebody's finding this interesting that's new to EVE Online. That's why we talk about it. Looking at the stats for alliances, Victus picked up 400 people. Fraternities, that was from last week, I think. They lost 300. Pandemic Horde picked up 300. We already explored that. We were looking to see if there was a corporation that switched, and there was not. Silent Company picked up 300, and Hull Penetration lost 300. So let's look at Hull Penetration. I don't know who they are, but they imploded, so they're gone. Nice logo, though. Looks like they're down to 2 working corporations. Yeah, this group imploded. I don't know anything about Hull Penetration, but you can sometimes see where these groups go. If you order this by when they left and you make that most recent, you can go down in order and see other alliances now. And that's when you're seeing corporations jump from one alliance to another. In this case, it looks like a lot of these small corporations, and I mean less than 100 people, 100 members, which means less than 50 people, didn't go anywhere else. So they probably just dissolved for some reason. Yeah. So Hull Penetration looks like it's gone. And looking at Silent Company, I want to figure out who they are. Oof. That can't be right. I must have hit something wrong. Silent Company, 12,000 members. Anyone know about Silent Company? That's astounding. How did they get that many?
Nope.
Silent Company, Strategic Exploration and Development Corp, 9,000 members. Something's wrong here. Oh, AOM University. Is that Army of Mango University? Or are we looking at...
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, Hull Pen is a corporation, and they joined Pen is out. That is Wang's, I believe. So, okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Thank you, Princess. Can't read the rest of it there. So that corporation I just looked at, or that alliance I just looked at, probably went to Pen is out. I just started reading chat. All right. This is astounding. I don't know who this is, this Silent Company, but to have 12,000 characters in your alliance and not show up on the radar is it's embarrassing to me. I should know who these people are and know their history. Let's see if they hold sovereignty somewhere. Forget their statistics. Well, they just grew. Yeah, they were already big in September. They had like 5,000. I think they must be associated with a bigger power that we talk about, probably Army of Mango. So we'll see where they're. Let's look at events. So they've picked up a lot of corporations. That's all I can see here. And then we'll look at changes. This should have solve changes. They don't have any solve changes. Go to the overview. They're not a solve holding group, which I'm going to find out about these guys and get back to you on who they are and why they have 12,000 members with 8 corporations. There's one group, Strategic Exploration and Development Corporation. Let me look at it. At some point, I'll get a clue. Well, here's a description of who they are. Okay, so they're like an NPC group with 4 players. And this tells me a couple things. Let's actually go to their website. One is they pick up a lot of new players because they're looking for that kind of player. Anybody is probably welcome. And they have a web presence, which is good. You don't see this very often. It's very outward facing. It looks like, you would browse this. It's not just for their own members. It's actually to attract new players. And they tell you some of the things that they would do for you. And so what is the Silent Coalition? Silent Coalition is a community of different corporations and players who operate both in their own specific areas and careers in New Eden and with each other's. Instead of having our corporations in an official game alliance, we are using standings and other technical solutions to stay connected over corporation borders. This allows the coalition member corporations to have full autonomy over their corporations and operations, which will allow them to focus on things they want to do without getting affected by other coalition corporations. So this has happened before, but this is a pretty successful organization. It's a holding organization. It's like join it, have the benefits of having a wider community without any of the obligation. It is kind of an answer to nullsec, where you are completely obligated to do what the leaders of the coalition want you to do. Of course, they allow you to, to harvest the good resources in nullsec, but you are a conscripted soldier. You have to do what they want you to do, or you get kicked out, or you have the threat of getting kicked out, that sort of stuff. This is the opposite. This is like we're all just going to be in this same organization, but do your own thing. But let's just belong to this big organization. I don't know if it's done for self-defense reasons, but we should find out. How's it going, Victor?
Not bad. Just been listening in.
Yeah, I think that's a good interview. I love groups like this. I love groups that do things differently in a different way. Okay, so they picked up some new members. Surprise, surprise. They're at like 12,000. So that is the news. Most violent wormholes, no data. I think they stopped giving that data. So no data on that. And yeah, so that's the combat report. It was super long. It could be a lot shorter. I'll try to get that down. Let's look at what's coming up on the menu next. Looks like a lot of Veil of the Silent is reinforced. So most of that is TCU, which is Territorial Claim Unit. That's not really important. That's really just a flag on your territory that saves you some fuel on your structures. But other than that, not that important. What is important are iHubs. Let's see if I can get iHubs isolated. iHubs are your let me do one thing at a time. iHub stands for, I lost it.
Infrastructure hub.
Infrastructure. Yeah. Infrastructure hub. And so infrastructure hub holds your defense rating. And so what you want your iHubs to do is essentially get built up, like their rating systems get built up. And you do that by either destroying NPCs or mining or living there. Those are the 3 ratings. And combined, those things add up to a certain rating, level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And the higher that rating is, the longer it takes to conquer anything in your system. Hello, Perfecto Ignori. So we're looking at iHubs. These things are very important because this is essentially your defensive rating for your system. So these things are attacked first when there's an actual assault coming. When they destroy your iHub, you lose your defensive multipliers, and in doing so, it signals that you're an easier target. So these are the first things that get taken out. That's why they're important. And you have 5 of them coming up in Veil of the Silent. Looks like they belong to Forsaken. Yeah, these are the groups that fight in Tribute and Veil. These are smaller groups that fight each other. So sometimes you attack an iHub just to get people worried. So they'll come out and defend it, and then you can get a fight. And that's what a lot of that stuff is about. Yeah, Perfecto. We talked about DDoS attacks at the beginning of the program. They are a pain, and you can get reimbursement for ships lost if you petition CCP. And we showed you how to do that early on. We'll just do it real quick. You want to open a ticket, go to gameplay, go to support, go to reimbursements, go to lost ships, and the GMs will follow up once you submit that ticket. So don't lose ships, and if you do, get them given back to you because you got cut off while you were playing. Deckline, that's a Ranger Regiment iHub, so it looks like NC's extending their attack up to Deckline. Although we talked to Killabee yesterday, and he said it's really just kind of trying to box them into Deckline, and then at that point they will figure out if they want to continue. Looks like Worthless Crabs have 3 iHubs that are up on the menu on the next day, so a lot of stuff upcoming in the north. All of it in the north, except Scalding Pass here is in the south. And Cache is in the southeast. Other than that, everything being reinforced is up north. Okay, let's go into the latest for forums. TQ under DDoS attacked. We talked about that. Sorry about the inconvenience, guys, for trying to play EVE Online. And other than that, it's like ships for sale, characters for sale. Not a lot of activity that I can see right off the bat. Okay, one last thing. If you get a chance, you should think about watching Scott Manley's new video. It's called How I Spent $30,000 on a Video Game Spaceship in the Name of Charity. And if you didn't catch this Sunday's program with Scott Manley on it and Kellon, who actually sold him the $30,000 ship, check it out. It's out right now on podcast or YouTube. And so he's going to basically, he did a small video of 12 minutes on why he did it and how he did it and all the stuff that was there. So, yeah. Okay. So check out Scott Manley's. One other place I like to check for news, Twitter. Let's go into Matterall. Twitter has Tweet Fleet. That's the hashtag. It has been for years. So I like to see, how Hilmar communicates with people. Here's the DDoS attacks. You can see that from Ashtaroth. He posted that picture. You can see how devastating it is. That loop is usually this example here on the left shows you the nice loop that it usually is. But you can see what DDoS attacks do to it. They knock everybody off the game and create terrible instability. And that's going to take a while to recover from. Reload, who is now part of Talking in Stations, is talking about don't know. I thought it was a tournament that was coming up. Brendan Drain, I met him, cool guy. He writes for MMORPG. Massively, that was it. He's a reporter for Massively. EVE player, longtime EVE player. Actually, we should talk to that guy. Bring him on. And Ashtarothi, again, very active on Twitter. Breadcrumbs letting you know there are new items good for players. This was 18 hours ago. I don't know what he means there. Okay. So check out Tweet Fleet on Twitter if you want to get more information on what people are talking about out there. Well, that's it for the news summary. Let's go into... We wanted to talk about some specialty stuff, right? Lichgrave, are you still there? Did I put you to sleep?
Yep. No, I'm still here.
Oh, let's hear a different voice for a while.
Yeah, no, market trends. You gotta love markets. Yeah, really interesting things happening this past couple of weeks into the new year. First off,
Yeah.
amazing start to the year, guys. Really, there's so many changes in the Eve world that the Plex for good. We've had multiple patches and the revitalization. We're back up to pre. Like I keep saying this, but we're back up to pre blackout numbers in terms of market and flow. So game's doing great. So that's always good. Well, let's talk about a couple things that I've because I've just been watching the markets and have been noticing a couple different things. First off, so I'm not fully understood as to how this works, but apparently the Astero is starting to be used now as a counter to stealth bombers. So that's just skyrocketed in price.
Hmm.
We were sitting somewhere close to around 55 million each. Now, as it currently stands, towards the middle of the third week of January, we're sitting at plus 75. So we're talking about 20 mil difference over the course of about a year or about a month and a half, a little over. Wow. Crazy Astero changes or meta change.
Why can't I find Astero? Is it... Yes.
AST.
Oh, that's where I went wrong. Went wrong with the A. I used to listen to a singer called Astero, but I think she started with an E. Look at that incline. That's a nice incline over the period of a year. So it's, but it's spiked here at the end. I don't know if you could see that. So lately it's spiked. Let's go to that spike. Yeah, that's a good spike.
Oh yeah. So this is something that's happened because allegedly they are the counter to stealth bombers now. People who run SOE missions, great. People who run the drone missions, the drones, to get the chips as well, will be doing pretty good. So, at the same time, Garmers also seeing a jump in price. We're already starting to see yearly highs in the Garmer as well. I don't know why. I assume it has to do in combination with the Astero into the anti-stealth bomber setup, but I can't really tell you. It's just an observation. But the Garmer also, which is the
Frigate.
the frigate for Mordu's Legion. That's the one.
Yeah. Also has a nice incline for the last year, but you could see it's boosted right here at the last. It's gone up about, well, let's just say about 8 million per ship.
Yeah. So it's been really strange. Ares got a massive jump recently. Can't really imagine why. I assume because of the beginning of the war, lots of scouts dying. So, people trying to get in on that. It's just been one of those things.
Well, it looks like that had a huge jump in January.
It jumped in January, yeah, and then there was another jump in June, but that was accompanied by a few major buyouts. There wasn't that big of a major buyout spike at the beginning of this year, so can't really tell you as to why. I assume it's correlated, but you never know. Sometimes there could be something else happening at the same time that is causing these prices to jump up.
It came right back down. It was a quick jump, but it's
it was quick. So moving on to the sacrilege.
Sacrilege.
The sacrilege. Yeah. Massive spike. This is something that has been kind of strange. So this is, if you look at the timelines, on open comms, it is declared that they're going to war. Sacrilege spikes like crazy. So does the Typhoon. So
Sacrilege, by the way, is a cruiser. It's a hack.
the hack,
A
yeah.
heavy assault cruiser for Amar.
So Typhoon, and I've been looking around with modules and things. So I've been noticing some patterns.
Wait, did you say
but
open
yeah.
comms?
Was it open comms that the Matani was talking about?
No.
They were going to war. Or
Open
was it-
comms
was
is
it-
like the drunk party show.
You know I don't follow these things, not at all. Which one is it?
He probably announced that to his people through a fireside chat.
Fireside chat. That was the one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was fireside chat that they announced that they were going to war. Sacrilege spikes immediately. You know, Typhoon does the same thing. Onyx does the same thing. So speculations.
Typhoon is a battleship.
galore.
We talked about that. The Typhoon is benefiting from the the missile buff. I put those two things together. Muscle. The missile buff that was given out a couple weeks ago. So they're going to try to make a Typhoon into something. It's been tried before and it hasn't worked out. And the other ship that you talked about was the Onyx, which is, I believe,
The Hick. The Caldari Hick, yes.
Yeah, so that's a heavy interdiction cruiser, and that is it looks like it's spiked.
That's spiked and is on the way up, so we'll see where that goes.
Notice it spiked before the announcement though, because this announcement came recently, and this thing spiked.
A
week ago.
Tinfoil hat, purchases and positions gained before the announcement, of course, by those who had predetermined,
Well, this is
who already were aware before it was going to happen.
This is an
That's
important.
because pre-buying is important.
Yeah, that's wow. You scared the hell out of me. but that's a really good point. So what happens is if you're looking at like we saw the Ares, right? The Ares spiked, and we're like, I wonder why Ares spiked. But now you're looking at warships that are used in wars, right? Like a Hick will always be used in a war. They're used to trap other fleets and other supers. And so when you see a spike and you haven't heard an announcement yet, understand that something's coming. Sometimes people, groups like to build their own stuff, so they don't like to give it away. But as news starts to leak out among logistics people, you'll see purchasing increase. And that's what this spike is. This happens before the announcement. The announcement was only 3 days ago. This spike happened like a week ago. So,
yeah. So, you start to see spikes from all these different positions, starting to go in weird ways. Probably the biggest kind of surprise to me was the Munin, which we all know received the pretty significant nerfs mid-December. Was the live fire, or the I forget the name of the update.
Fight or flight.
The fight or flight update. And so, we saw it. Everybody knew it was going to happen, and it just tanks. And, fight or flight comes out, and, it slowly started to creep back up. It's almost
still
back
viable.
to, yeah, well, maybe. It's definitely almost back to post or pre nerf levels. But it's not fully quite there yet. So volatile in general.
Right. A Munin is a cruiser again. It's a heavy assault cruiser, a hack. And that is for the Minmatar race. Minmatars are known for being fast and being able to apply damage to a specific target quickly and having good range. So these are good, fast ships that allow you to kite, I believe. That's how they're used. And they are a favorite of Black Legion or Elo Knight, whatever group he's with. If he's with Fraternity or Black Legion or Origin, that's his corporation. Those guys love Munins, and they've really perfected their use. It takes a really strong FC and a really disciplined group with that FC. That little platoon has to be tight, and then you can make the Munin work really well. They're very effective. Too effective, in fact, so everybody started to use them, and CCP saw that they were overpowered, and so they decided to put a balance pass on them to nerf them down a little bit. And that looks like it didn't have a huge effect. It depends going into the future if they will lose favor as some other doctrine becomes a better kiting doctrine or counters the kiting doctrines.
Yeah. So, moving on, the Cerberus. Seeing it, it's always a little bit volatile, the Cerberus. But it's at its it hit its spike again, around the same time as everything else. But it's always been a little bit more volatile. So, I guess you can say it's related, but I wouldn't. But it could be. So, never going to leave that off the table. But it is on its way back down again. So,
right. So again, this is the Caldari version of a heavy assault cruiser. These are all hacks, right? Hacks are usually popular because they're very effective with good FCs. They're usually a fast ship because they're only cruiser sized, and they can apply damage well, and they can usually kite very well. Cerberus would have gotten a big buff here or become more popular because missiles were enhanced or buffed, and so those Cerberuses probably be very popular because they receive the enhancements as well, since that's their major form of weaponry.
Hey, can I touch on the missile thing and Typhoon thing? Real
Sure.
quick? So I had a history when I was in Circle of Two of our big boss Nang trying that back in the day, and it went hilariously bad.
Yeah.
I mean, like you were saying, people have tried to do it. I actually lived through that, and it went hilariously bad.
Yeah, it can and usually does. Missiles are hard to make work. There was a time when missile ravens were like unbelievably overpowered because they had such an immense range. But
Yeah.
But usually that's kind of an outlier. It's not. Well, the Drake missile boat platform was popular for a good long time in 2014, 2013, because you could apply a lot of well, there's a couple things that happened, right? One is that you had battle cruisers as a fleet comp in general were not strong enough to resist a doomsday. So if you were fighting in nullsec in anything smaller than a battleship, you could get wiped off the map by one doomsday from a Titan. So when they changed that doomsday from an area of effect to a single point destructive device, that allowed all the fleets that were smaller than battleships to prosper. And one of those was the Drake, because it was a very good ship, had so many mid slots, they could have a very strong defense, very strong shield defense, which would allow it to survive even if it was getting shot at for a little while. And then you had it as a missile boat platform, which is not good in and of itself because the missiles take time to travel to the target, and yeah,
I was gonna say instant versus time direct damage is a factor, though. I do love my missiles and lasers.
Yeah. The good thing about missiles is once you lock a target and fire, it will always hit. The amount of damage it does might vary depending on the size of the ship that you're attacking and the type of missile you're shooting at it and what the defenses of that ship are. But for the most part, you're going to apply some damage on ships. Now, when you got Drakes together, if you put 100 of them together and you put all those missiles on the same target, that volley of missiles would obliterate just about any target. So it was really popular to have that. Plus, it was hard to chew through a Drake fleet since everybody had these really strong tanks on those things. And then the third part of it was they were very cheap, so that guys that didn't have a lot of money could get in on those fleets, and therefore you had bigger fleets. So it had a lot of things going for it. So the Drake was popular at one time for PvP. Before that, it was really just used for PvE. And since then, it's kind of been used for PvE because you have different having a strong tank and having missile damage is totally fine when you're fighting against NPCs, but when you're fighting against other PvPers, it's a bit of a different story.
The one kind of PvP-ish application that I've seen it used for nullsec has rolled out since the solve changes, and that's for flip and solve. I've got a couple of them myself, and all they do is go out and do fuzzy solve stuff, which is kind of a shame, really, because I like being visually stimulated, and missiles and lasers. The eras when missiles and lasers were around, the fights actually looked pretty dang cool. And with rail guns and projectiles, it's just not as cool looking.
Yeah. Hi, Thazar.
So,
go ahead.
So, Orthrus as well. Seeing that same trend with the Garmer. Barghest, not really. A bit of a spike, but it's been kind of stable for the past few months. Orthrus, seeing that massive spike is leveling off now into January, but still, during that December time period, sparking pretty hard, actually.
Again, this is a pirate faction cruiser. So what I'm seeing here is a lot of cruisers, right? AHACs and pirate cruisers.
Yeah, no big surprise cruisers, right? I mean, so...
If you get enough people in your fleets and they're in cruisers, you can apply a lot of damage and enough damage at least to take out single targets, and you're mobile. So it's a faster fighting experience.
Now since October, close to that time frame of when Eve was announced in Korean, we saw the Gila spike, and it's been continuing to go up basically almost permanently, with little dips towards the end of the year, but still on just like a general uptick. So, of course, a whole bunch of new players, just people in general wanting to fly the Gila. So yeah, that is a thing. Gila being the faction. Forget the faction cruiser that everybody knows as the King of the Abyss and the king of a lot of other things.
Right. Oh, we're looking into some news, some breaking news here. There'll be a big announcement if it's true, but I got to check it out with a second source. We'll see if we can run it down. Sorry to interrupt, just letting you know something that we're looking at.
Okay. So moving on to the thing that I did want to talk about today, which was the emerging conduit nerfs. How that impacts the economy, how that impacts everybody else. The changes are new. The LP is massive. The LP stock is massive, so these changes aren't going to be in the near future. These changes are going to be down the road, but just prepare for it. Naturally, of course, anything that is involved in the DEDLP store, so... but starting with the site itself, salvage for the Tech 2s, the data cores for the Tech 2s, just anything that revolves around Tech 2 production is going to go up in price. Again, this could be months down the road, depending on the stockpiles that some people have, but this is most assuredly something that is going to go up in price, almost at a guarantee. Agency Hardshell, Agency Pyrolancia, and Agency Overclocker 2. This is the DOS 2 that was purchasable from the DEDLP store, that still is, but with the massive nerf to the drop rate and spawn rate of emerging conduits, these are going to go up in price as well. So, again, you're not going to see it now, but you will see it very much down the road. So, get a stockpile while you can, because these things are way, way too useful to have around.
I'm on comms no matter.
Hey, Killer B. So let me preempt our economic talk for a second. We have Killer B here. I'll just ask you live on air. Is it true Siberian Squad is leaving Dead Coalition? Have you heard anything about that?
So what you sent me was like, have you heard about RR leaving Dead Co?
Yeah.
There was a ping today about Siberian Squad and about Deadco leaving Tina, right? I don't understand how whoever sent you that draw the conclusion that Deadco leaving Tina would mean RR leaving Deadco. Tina is right. They're leaving Tina. Yes, I said that yesterday on your show as well. We killed this their staging IHOP in ZH3, where they have a Keepstar, and they are now retreating out of that Keepstar into Branch, right? And R was the only force left in Tina. So now all of Deadco has retreated out of Tina. So the second point rather, is correct. Deadco is leaving Tina. Yes, they have retreated all
I
of their
get it.
military force out of Tina, but RR isn't leaving Deadco.
I'm being corrected by as well. Yes. So Siberian Squad is not leaving Deadco. Let's kill that rumor quick. And what you said is that RR is leaving. Sorry, moving to Tinal or leaving?
They used to live in Tina. They're now moving out of Tina.
Okay. And so Dead Coalition is leaving Tinal as well.
Well, they're abandoning it, yes.
Okay, so this isn't necessarily new then.
No, this started happening yesterday after we killed the IHOP, and it wasn't exactly a surprise.
Okay, I got confused. I misread this thinking that the coalition was falling apart. The Dead Coalition was falling apart, and that's why it was going to be big news.
I don't think so.
Nope. Okay, so we'll make that clear. Thanks very much for clearing that up.
What we're saying.
All right, let's go back to market news and finish up. What else you got, Lichgrave?
So aside from the changes aside from all of the changes with the emergent conduits, and yes, do be ready for the changes to pyro and salvage and all this. They're going to be coming down the road. Tiny market anomaly with Plex. Fairly recently, today or this cycle, I suppose, is the 29th. So, for anybody who doesn't know how these charts work, the little sticks, the stick that you see, the little line, just denotes the ranges of prices that happened that day. Works like a candlestick graph if anybody's ever been in finance. So somebody somewhere messed up, and it looks like some Plex was sold for 33,000 ISK.
Oof, that hurts.
So, yep.
The candles. I don't see. Oops.
Let me
Okay.
see where you're looking at. So I'm in the game. So
Okay. This graph, I can't reshape it to well enough, so I can't really see that. But let's just zoom. Yeah, doesn't help. So somebody bought ISK for 33 million, you said?
33,000.
Oh, somebody lost Plex for.
Yeah.
Fat fingered it. Oof.
So
yeah, this looks good. It looks like Plex is getting stronger at 3.4 million.
let me just quickly take a look here. Yeah, the lowest was 34,101 ISK. I don't know how much of it was moved into that, but yeah, that is the lowest price today, which has definitely been an anomaly. That is most assuredly a record for the year. We'll see if anybody can beat that.
Yeah, it's not registering here, but on my screen. But yikes! Yes, poor guy. Whoever. How much do you have a quantity on that? Does it say?
No.
Right?
The graph, the tables do not give us numbers. They only show us they don't give us quantity. They only give us price. Somebody moved an unknown, fat fingered an unknown amount for 34,000, most likely, trying to move 3.4 million. But
yeah.
Well,
this is the opposite. This is where he didn't put enough zeros in.
Yep.
Maybe it was like just 100 Plex or something. But if it was a big block at once, that would hurt.
We'll have to wait and find out.
It's difficult. I don't. I almost feel like you should have pricing on a slider instead of, you could type it in, but you really want it on a slider and it has to hit like increments or something. I don't know. Some way of making fat fingering and losing your fortune less instantaneous. I think there has to be some kind of a fix.
Yeah, it's called taking your time.
Well, even if you take your time, those numbers are very small. The interface is not conducive to smooth transactions. You literally have to sweat over it. You have to fear the accidental bumping of another integer.
We do have UI scaling that can go up to 150%, which is insane. But if people do need it, I mean, by all means, it is. So
yeah, I don't think that's holding your hands, as Storm Rider says there. That's not holding your hands. That's getting the interface out of your way. You have an intention, and that intention should be.
That's an interface thing. But
yeah.
Again, there is a change in UI size. That is an adjustable thing.
Yeah. So Antin says there is a warning when you move large quantities. And that guy would have seen a warning, wouldn't he? Because he was so undervalued that he probably should have seen a warning come up.
You can choose to disable that.
Okay.
You can choose to have that never show up again. So, again, also another second point factor that was removed by his own actions.
I like what Ghost FX says here. No real Jedi needs sliders. Step it up, yo. That's pretty funny. We get those every show. If we've been on too long, I know because I get a phone call in the middle of it. All right. We've probably been on too long. What else you got?
That's basically it. Just, keep an eye out for Tritanium with the war going on. Because
will the war intensify? That's a good question. Let's look at Tritanium and see what people think is going to happen. Looks pretty stable after a pretty good rise. This rise, I don't know when it occurred.
I'm also seeing a spike here at the end of here today too. Some was sold for some around 10 ISK, and as low as like maybe 2. No, sorry, not 2. As low as maybe 4, a little over 4.
Yeah, Tritanium used to hang around 5.25 for a long time, for a couple months at least, and then they announced that they were going to cut back on the Tritanium producing asteroids in nullsec space, and you can see then the quantities bought jumped up. It kind of doubled, and the price also shot up really quickly, and then it's kind of crept up and stabilized, but it's now at about 6.5 ISK per Tritanium, and the reason these and so a 1 ISK jump doesn't seem like a big jump, but when you multiply it by millions and millions to build a fleet of battleships, for instance, and that's just one fleet that could get destroyed, that starts to add up.
Yeah. So, be on the lookout for those. Buy Pyro, do all the things.
Buy Pyro?
Pyro, the Pyro Lancia dose 2, the hard shell dose 2, and the overclocker dose 2, because that came from the emerging conduit LPs.
Right, the conduit nerf. So you think that it's going to make that stuff rarer and therefore more expensive?
Yeah, I mentioned that. So that's going to definitely increase the prices. Not today, not tomorrow, not this week, not in the next month, because these conduits will run until all living hell. We're going to be months down the road. But, be aware now. That way you can make the decision now as opposed to, 3 months, 4 months when the price could actually have been skyrocketed by then.
Right. The highest I've seen, what's the highest you've ever seen Tritanium go?
Oh, man. 15?
Really? Yeah.
Like ever?
Ever?
Yeah, we're talking. I mean, I've been playing since 2008.
Yeah.
So.
I think I saw it go to 12 once, but I don't remember. Maybe when Orcas were introduced, there was a huge run on Tritanium. But I remember very clearly 6 and 7, And then I think I remember a 12, like 11, 12 per, which would be about twice what it is now. Anyway, just curious what you've seen it at. I wouldn't be surprised if it went up to 15.
I've been playing since 2008, so there's a good possibility that at some point it was, but that's lost to time. Somebody might know somewhere. CC, please. CC, please. David?
Someone tell us.
Yeah.
No, it's a good question, right? Like, what do you remember? But we'll have to ask industrialists because other people don't pay attention. All right, just reading some of the comments here. I heard a rumor that Test is moving north and Goons. I don't think those are rumors. I think that Test declared war on Dead Coalition, so they went up there as it's a campaign, not actually a full blown war. And Goons Forum recently announced this last weekend that they're headed up there as well. And so Test and Goons are not necessarily on the same side on this one. Doesn't mean they're enemies, but they're not necessarily on the same side here because Goons Forum is going up to help Dead Coalition, and Test said they want to hurt Dead Coalition. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah, so those aren't rumors. Those are probably something that's happening. Test is up there. They do not seem to be making up their
Those
mind.
are true facts.
Yeah. They don't seem to be making up their mind, though, Test, on how deeply to get involved. So it's going to be interesting. I'll read a question here from Mimosa. If CCP introduces resource depletion, that will drive up prices. So nullers will get rich, high seckers will get poorer because you have to pay for those prices. Income redistribution.
No.
That you don't agree that's how it works?
No, because resource depletion is specifically targeting anomalies, which HiSec does not have. We use moons. So does null.
Okay. All right, that's all I got today, guys. Been on for an hour and a half. Is this a good time, or should we start an hour later? I don't know. Let me check messages real quick. Oh, cool. New Serenity. All right, just some good news for Talking in Stations. I'll deal with that later on. I want to thank you guys for hanging out. Les Grave, always good talk economics. We should do this like every day.
I can always look at prices. I can always pull through to see what's changing up and down, and we can do some swing economic stuff. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Or swing trading talk. That'd be funny.
Yeah. It's good to see Cable that came on earlier, and Victor here hangs out with us occasionally. It's been actually a lot of fun watching Talking in Stations get active again in voice chat. Yesterday we had people in voice chat all day long talking about different things. Players from all over EVE Online get together and do what we do now. Just talk about EVE Online and what's going on, what's going to go on, and make predictions, and also inform each other on some tips and tricks and fixes. Killer B came in and helped us clear up that rumor. It's not anything that is a surprise. We talked about it on Sunday, and we talked about it again yesterday on Today in EVE Online. Again, thank you very much for showing up, and thanks for all the questions inside of chat. Really appreciate it. It is morning for me, but it's probably evening for European players. But I want to say have a good morning. We'll jump over to Marquis Dragon. We'll go ahead and raid him. He's always good for stuff. I can't tell if he's playing Eve, though. Hold on a second. Give me a second. I'm going to find you a good home. And this is something that's not easy to do. I wish it was a bit easier. Hey, if there's subjects you guys want to cover, let me know. Just type them in stream or talk to me on Talking Stations Discord. Let me know what's going on.
Jump into the Discord, guys. What is the exclamation Discord? Is it?
Well, look up talkingstations.com, and there's the Discord link there. You have to go through there. We don't have a link that's directly for us.
Yeah,
Family-friendly Christian stream for kids. What?
No.
What is that?
Why don't I believe that.
What? Yeah. Just in case that's a troll, I'm going to say no.
Smart.
But we're going to go to here. Here's a friend, Tamway Cowboy. He's doing missions, so we'll raid him. So enjoy our friend Tamway. Say hi to him for us, and we will see you tomorrow. All right, almost done here. We're going to do this raid in 5 seconds. And thank you, everybody.